This is one of those cases where, while I don't condone what the quote unquote perpetrator or suspect did, I don't feel sorry for the so called victim, and I'll tell you why.
Where them kicks at? Where them hands? Where them holes? Where them throws? You know what I'm saying? Cecil.
This is why I train in martial arts.
The
The
video
video
shows the
shows the
moment.
moment.
A music teacher at Maywood Academy High School swings and punches a student. The two dance across the classroom, trading blows, before the teacher grabs the young man, striking him several times with a cell phone as students try to break it up.
I can't imagine any music teacher I've ever had, and I've had quite a few, well, maybe the one music professor that was actually ex-military. But other than that, I can't imagine any music teacher actually getting to the point where they would go toe to toe with the student. Most educators wouldn't, period. And one of my main spills on this channel is every time there's like a violent news story, I say this is why I train in martial arts. And this is yet another example why I think teachers need to be training in martial arts, because some of these children are crazy and downright disrespectful. See, that's why I don't feel bad for the kid for being hit. Even though I guess according to the rules of the school, the teacher does have to be disciplined. He's supposed to model self-control. He's supposed to model the behavior that we want to see in the student. And I can see your argument that you may not want a teacher fighting a student. But this student called the teacher racial slurs, which in and of itself is not an excuse to beat somebody up. But then you'll see later, the student actually assaulted the teacher first. Now, I don't care who it is. I don't care how sanctified or holy or whatever a person is. You keep pushing their buttons, they're gonna bust you in your face, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to bust them in their face, you know what I'm saying?
Students say the teacher had dismissed the boy from class for not wearing the proper uniform, but the student returned, cursing and yelling racial slurs repeatedly before throwing a basketball at the teacher, who
Basketball was my favorite sport, and up and down the court. I don't want to quote the Curtis Blow lyric because I'll probably get sued or get a YouTube copyright infringement strike. But I gave credit to Curtis Blow. But anyway, the basketball thing reminds me of a time that someone hurled a basketball towards me. Now, the children said that they lost control of it while they were playing with it, and it was coming after me. I think one kid threw it and the other kid didn't agree with it, and because the person that said sorry was not the person close enough to throw it. So I think he was covering for his friend. But when the basketball came at me, I just up-blocked it, and it went away. Boop, bounced off my arm and kept going. Now, let me save the technique breakdown for after the full footage. Because, again, if someone trains in martial arts, not only do they learn techniques for self-defense, being able to fight at a level that's way above the people who are trying to hurt you frees up your brain so that you actually can think.
initially walked away before he snapped.
The kids are young teenagers and they probably open their mouth a little too much and say stuff that they shouldn't. But then also as a teacher and adult, we need to be more patient with the kids.
Parents of former Maywood High students want the teacher fired.
You think he should lose his job?
Yes.
Do you think
I think he should go to jail. Sorry, but I mean, he's an adult. He shouldn't be putting hands on a minor like that.
Don't you love how people who are not socially obligated to fight or deal with physical conflict love telling you what you should do? You ever notice that? You ever notice how people who are way above fighting age are quick to say we should go to war? How people who are not expected to break up a fight if a fight breaks out love telling the rest of us to go break up that fight and go handle it, and you know you can handle that? That man was assaulted by that boy. Now, again, I wish he could have handled it better. but I don't think he should go to jail for that. If anything, he should get written up and suspended with pay. But if he's had, and it's going to show, he's had different incidents, you could make the argument that he's the one constant in the equation, or you could also make the argument that maybe he's the only one who has the courage to fight back when he's being physically attacked. Maybe there's a problem with the students in that area who think that it's okay to attack an adult. Why do they think they can attack an adult? I admit that I look back on myself, I consider myself to be a pretty crazy kid. I mean, I was a good kid, but I had a temper, you know. But I never, ever, ever thought that I could fight back against an adult or a teacher. I would have never in a million years, especially by the time I was that old. That's way old enough to know better high school. I couldn't see myself hitting a teacher. I knew some people who ended up in jail, and you know, I guess I'm playing that my generation is better than your generation game. No, I can't imagine any hoodlums that I went to school with hitting a teacher. It's something wrong with those children, and they think that they can attack a teacher. And then they're going to attack a man on top of that. So, ma'am, I wish the lady that was being interviewed by the news could see this. There's something wrong with those boys that think that they can attack a man. They just don't have any respect for male authority figures. They may not have any respect for black male authority figures, especially since that boy yelled racial slurs. But whether you like a man's race or not, that's a man. And someone needs to tell these children that there are men who, if you hit them, they will hit you back and back and in your back and in the back of your head and knock your head back, if you get my drift. Now, the Bible does say we should turn the other cheek, and Taekwondo does talk about self-control. But we don't live in should. We have to be prepared for what is in reality. We want reality to upgrade to the level of, biblical principles and these ideas and tenets that we get from martial arts. But most people ain't there yet. Most people are probably never going to be there. And that teacher's not trained. So I really wouldn't expect him to react like you think he should. Stop treating these teachers like they're all supposed to be these super high level Zen monk, super duper ultra spiritual warrior type people when you won't invest in training for them to get that.
They say this isn't the first time and gave us this exclusive video showing another violent altercation involving the same teacher last year. Police arrested the teacher and say a thorough investigation is underway.
The case has now been turned over to our Special Victims Bureau, which will handle it from here on out.
But parents are worried about the outcome.
Is a teacher going to get to the point where he kills someone so they could actually do something? Because it's pretty violent now. So what is the next step?
The next step is for the police to not file charges against that man, for the school to give him the bare minimum level of punishment they could possibly get away with. And the next step for that teacher is to either A, find a new line of work, and not because there's anything wrong with you, but because these people must be crazy if they think that you're supposed to put up with being assaulted by students and still walk around always hunky-dory day when you're not psychologically prepared to do that. He's not psychologically prepared to do that. Even if he's a military veteran, he may have PTSD. I'm going to put this idea out here and feel free to steal it. I think they need to come up with a corps. I was a reservist in the Marine Corps. I think they need some type of military-esque corps of educators, specially trained educators. I would say educators who have strong backgrounds in martial arts, to go into these schools, who have martial arts background training and psychological training, for juveniles, people who can fight but know how not to. They need specially trained individuals to go into the schools nowadays. I say have that corps there for at least 20, 30 years. And I think that would be enough to chill this whole thing out. They need to start drafting people to teach people who can fight, but who also are thinkers. Smart killers is what that batch was called at one time. I've already said too much. But you don't want people who are going to go in there and go kamikaze on the children. You need people who are going to go in there and be able to get physical, but know how to take it from I can handle them striking at me to taking them down to the ground and holding them until they calm down. But at the same time, being aware that if they do hold the child down and put them in a joint lock, somebody might come up behind them. Now, if you want to know what style you think prepares you for that, mine. But he's not near me. So if you're not near me, I'm going to give you the secret. You're going to have to take 3 types of styles. You're going to have to take a karate or a taekwondo type style so that you're used to people striking you. Even if you can't find that, I would say take a karate type style, take some Western boxing, and then take some type of judo or jiu-jitsu or aikido. Because you want to be able to handle the wrestling part and you want to be able to handle the striking part. Okay? Now, you may think, well, I'll just take MMA and that will give me all that. I would not recommend MMA for somebody who has to deal with something like this because MMA teaches you to go into the ground and pound. And what you don't want to do is go into a ground and pound on a student. And that's actually what that teacher was doing when he was hitting them like this with the cell phone. He was going into ground and pound. Because you can't get away with going to ground and pound on the students. You need to learn from a style that teaches you to go into pin control, not ground and pound. The only exception I would make for MMA is if they explicitly train you away from grounding and pounding, if they make you learn classical forms. Forms like the Shotokan-based forms, the Chanji-based forms that General Choi had, because General Choi had a background in Shotokan before he formed Taekwondo. I would say if I got to be a stylist in terms of my style prejudices, either my system, because I know my system covers all that. Okay, that, because my system also, I've sprinkled a Kyusho Jitsu in there when I can. So, something like Cecil Ryu Taekwondo, learn to kick, punch, and throw, learn to fight from on the flow, and learn some Kyusho, and learn a little bit of boxing, yo. You can't get that. And there are schools that do this. There are schools that teach like karate, jiu-jitsu, karate, judo, taekwondo, BJJ. There are schools that do that. So, because that way, if you're doing both of those together, the ideally what you would do is you would block while they're out of blocking range. And you come in and you close with the child and you hold the child down or you control them down until people come and arrive. In addition to that, dare I say, you're going to have to learn some type of knife defenses and stuff like that too. Now, that sounds like a lot for a teacher to learn, and it is a lot for a teacher to learn, and I do think it's necessary. But that begs the question again. That's what you're expecting. Some of these people, you want a teacher to be trained like an advanced black belt. That's the only type of person who remotely even stands a chance of not flipping off and hitting your child back. But you know what you could do, some of you parents? You could teach your children not to hit adults. You could teach your children to have some respect for authority and not think it's okay to yell slurs at your teacher and throw a basketball at your teacher because he told you you weren't dressed right. You know how I would feel? And well, if you don't know me, offline, I have done my fair share of ragging on terrible educators. But you know how I would feel if that was my child? I would feel embarrassed and ashamed. Now, they're both grown now, so whatever they do is on them. But if they did that when they were that age, there would be 3 words out of my mouth to that teacher. It would be, I am sorry. So thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like talk about the martial arts. If you are praying people, I hope you pray for that teacher. That's going to make me look bad, look some kind of way, or whatever. And people looking on the internet trying to research me and, try to find an excuse to make me look bad. And then you got one. Because I don't feel sorry for that boy, because that child attacked a teacher just because the teacher was doing his job. And I think when you do that, you get what you get. Peace.